Greetings, everybody. This is Izzy here. Welcome to another edition of my film review emerging from my film dojo. I am going to review for you the 2019 murder mystery Knives Out. Now, before I get into the whole details of this review, I want to go ahead and let everybody know that this is going to once again be a spoiler-free review because I feel any form of specific details regarding this film is going to ultimately spoil the overall feature for you. So I want to more or less still deviate and continue on with my spoiler-free review. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this review. I've always had a fascination with a great murder mystery. I grew up watching shows like Columbo, Matlock, Perry Mason, Murder, She Wrote, and even some of your other great films that managed to incorporate certain elements of the murder mystery, whether it's Saw, Seven, Clue, or even if it's what's another great murder mystery that I think deserves a lot of praise. Even Sherlock Holmes. I mean, even though Sherlock Holmes is not necessarily what you would consider a murder mystery, there have been marvelous stories in cinematic television and even novelization where it focuses primarily on the conceptual basis of the murder mystery. Even Nip Tuck, when they utilize a Carver storyline, which was one of my favorite storylines of all time of the show. But it's been a while since I've actually watched a good murder mystery that actually has the audience guessing. And that's what I love about stories like that, where it's just not necessarily everything is set in stone. It forces you to think and piece together certain clues and use your imagination. And even then, you're not exactly sure when the pieces come together. You're not exactly sure that the revelation is what it is. And that's what I've always loved about murder mysteries. When I saw the trailer for Knives Out, the cast is what really, truly impressed me overall. Daniel Craig, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Christopher Evans, Toni Collette. It was the overall cast is what really intrigued me to watching this film, and not necessarily, and also, I mean, the fact that it was a murder mystery it gave it that sense of extra incentive for me to be able to actually enjoy it. Knives Out is directed by Rian Johnson, who, fortunately, on his end, has been receiving a lot of flack for The Last Jedi from certain Star Wars fans, and a lot of people weren't necessarily, those fans in particular, weren't necessarily giving him a fair shot. They felt that he was going to ruin this aspect rather than, considering in their opinion that he ruined Star Wars. But that's another story for another time. Knives Out is actually a very entertaining film. I mean, I had a blast watching it. The writing is amazing, the acting is amazing, the delivery of the comedic timing, the brilliancy within the dialogue is just absolutely top notch. Everybody brings their A game, and that's what I really enjoyed about this film is the fact that everybody played immensely well off one another. And Daniel Craig, I have to say, as the character Benoit, let me see if I can pronounce his name correctly. Benoit Blanc is one of my favorite sleuths in this film. I would love to see a spin-off feature with him because he has this over-the-top southern foghorn leghorn accent that at first it's kind of off-putting, but you get used to it and you just think, okay, this is something I can work with. And he does an amazing job. Of course, I'm so used to seeing him as James Bond. And it's the same with Christopher Evans. With Christopher Evans' character, I'm so used to seeing him as Captain America. And to a certain degree, you can still see that Christopher Evans is still in that Captain America mode with the same mannerisms and the same posture, the same voice dialect. It's just so amazing how when you see a certain actor that's attached to a particular certain role, and that's all they've done for the past 10 years, that you only see them as that particular character. And don't get me wrong, I love Christopher Evans. Great actor, very talented, but sorry, man, I only see you as Captain America, plain and simple. But overall, I thought Knives Out was a fairly enjoyable murder mystery. It's a lot different compared to the other murder mysteries that a lot of people may be familiar with or accustomed to in general. I will say, and this is not necessarily a huge spoiler, but when it comes to certain murder mysteries, a lot of the revelations is saved for, the big revelations I should say, is saved for the final climactic ending. But with this one in particular, the mystery is revealed very fairly early on. The only difference is it still manages to keep you guessing there. Now, I will say there are some people who could guess a murder mystery right on top of their hat. And I've always been the type of person who I'm not afraid to admit that I didn't see it coming. Or, yeah, I could kind of see it coming, but I'm still not exactly sure if it's going to pan out the way my thought process is hoping that it would play out. But when it comes to the overall twist, if you will, in this film, it's, like I said, it's revealed fairly early on as to what happened. And you're left with still questioning whether or not if that's actually what transpired throughout the course of the whole ordeal involving the family. And it's, I guess the best way you can describe it, it is almost as if that like it's a modern day Clue, but it doesn't necessarily play out exactly like Clue, whereas Clue still kept you guessing because there's so many certain scenarios that are at play here. But with this Knives Out, there's still certain scenarios played out, but it's still left up to you to still follow what's going on, following the certain clues, the scenarios, and also I almost forgot, Don Johnson's in this film as well. I can't believe I forgot him. I mean from the Miami Vice days. But as a whole, it was still fairly enjoyable. I mean, I loved it. Like I said, I embrace a great murder mystery, and it's just been so long since we've actually watched a good one. And I sincerely hope that this film does well enough that it most likely possibly inspires a sequel or maybe a spin-off with Daniel Craig's character, because he was, to me, he is the true highlight of the film. And the humor, I mean, just the way he's interacted with all the other characters, along with the humor, the dialogue, and the atmosphere, and the tone, and the clues that are coming together right before your very eyes, I sincerely had a blast. And I know there are certain, I read that there was one reviewer, and I'm not going to mention any specific names, but there was one reviewer who didn't necessarily particularly care for it, and he felt that it was a great film to watch with your friends if you were hammered, which I find to be a pretty amusing statement. But it's still a great film that you could watch with your friends without being hammered, obviously. But I think it's going to be one of those films that has some significant form of legs once word of mouth goes around. And since word of mouth is extremely positive, if I'm not mistaken, the Rotten Tomatoes score or other scores in general have it as an 89 or 90%. I'm not exactly sure, so don't hold me to that. But through it all, Daniel Craig was an amazing highlight. Is the amazing highlight. I really love Toni Collette's character. She is the perfect ditzy yoga hippie type character. It's hard to describe her, but because then again, I see her as Annie from Hereditary, but she was hilarious. Jamie Lee Curtis's character was hilarious as well. Michael Shannon's character was great, but again, all praise goes to Daniel Craig, and Christopher Evans does a great job, even though he's still in whole Captain America mode. He still shows you that he could play this whole structured, entitled douchebag, and it's really weird hearing him cuss in this film, especially again, as I mentioned earlier in this review, I hate to sound so repetitious, but you're so accustomed to him being this pure-hearted, having this powerful moral code, and not hearing any type of profane language, maybe with the exception of a few pieces here and there. But again, Captain America is not this entitled douchebag. But through it all, the entire film of Knives Out is absolutely amazing. I think this is probably Rian Johnson's. He may have found his knack, I think he may have found his knack with this, his niche with this, simply because of the fact that it's right up his alley in terms of humor, mystery, questions, and clues, and what is even more brilliant is the fact that murder mysteries is supposed to captivate you in such a fashion that you don't necessarily feel bored. You actually are completely immersed within the confines of the mystery that is unfolding and the revelations that is about to open your eyes in such a fashion that you simply cannot take your eyes off from what's happening on the screen, but especially when the crime is involved. This film in particular, I did not feel bored whatsoever. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's funny. It's not gory, it's not graphic, it's not violent. It's just, and even then, even when all the pieces were still come together, I still found myself in the mindset of believing that something else is going to be revealed, and what I envisioned in my head and what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. And that is the great aspect of a murder mystery. And it's just anything that still keeps you guessing, even though when everything is revealed to the point to where there's nothing left to say, except that is what it is. But overall, again, spoiler free. I don't want to get to any type of specific details. I do recommend the film. I absolutely do. I say bring your friends, bring your family. I give it a 2 thumbs up, a 5 out of 5. A great, intelligent storyline, dialogue, witty humor, intelligent clues, great performances from Daniel Craig, Christopher Evans, Toni Collette, Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson, Michael Shannon. I mean, everybody does a great job. And I will also say there's a lot of humor involved with our current political climate, especially with certain debates that are going on between 2 respective characters, and it turns into this whole political diatribe that you just can't help but, I guess, find it somewhat frightening, but at the same time humorous altogether. Once again, Knives Out, 5 out of 5, 2 thumbs up, highly recommended. Bring your friends, bring your family, and I hope to see you all again. And let me know what you thought about it in the comments section. Provide a like. Let me know on my Facebook page what you thought about the film. Should you go see it tonight or tomorrow or this weekend or whenever? Just let me know what you thought. I will see you all again, my friends. Take care. And the next review will be Jumanji: The Next Level and Richard Jewell not too long after that. And then, of course, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So you will be seeing me again, my friends. Take care, and I will see you all later. Peace out.